Greetings, everybody. My name is Leslie Powers. Welcome to my presentation, Truth versus Perception, when my truth is not the truth. The words "my truth" rolled off my lips. I was making a video and the words "my truth" just came out of my mouth. And afterwards, I was a little bit shocked because I don't like using that phrase. And because I don't like using it, I reflected. I had to ask myself, what the heck does my truth mean? Does it mean that there is more than one truth? Or that there is no truth? Or that truth is a relative thing? What the heck is my truth? What I meant when I said my truth, I meant I have a unique story to tell, information to share, something important to say that could help others. I have a unique perspective. I have a voice that wants to be spoken. I want to share from my experience and my learning. I have a true story. I am authentic. And I am an expression of truth, as we all are. I feel an obligation to share my acquired knowledge to help others. This doesn't necessarily mean, however, that everything I say is true or that my beliefs are all accurate. I could be wrong about some things. In fact, I'm sure that I am. Truth remains truth, however, even if I believe something different. What we may really mean when we use the words "my truth." My truth may also be a polite New Age way of stopping a conversation or of saying any of the following sentiments. Quote, "This is what I think, and I'm not changing my mind, so don't even try. I'm not open to new information. This is the way I want things to be, so don't challenge me. We all have different truths because truth doesn't exist." Quote, "Because our perceptions differ, there is no right or wrong. We are all right. Truth is a relative thing. I don't want to hear another opinion or outlook. I'm defending against having my beliefs being challenged. I'm justifying my behaviors and mistakes. Shut up and leave me alone with my belief systems. Because I believe in my truth, I am justified in ignoring contrary information. Or I'm not ready for the truth yet. Or I am not ready to admit that I'm wrong. These uses of my truth signal danger. Our words have power. Beware the power of words and use them consciously and wisely. Sometimes what we perceive as truth is actually social programming. Sometimes my truth is a defensive statement triggered by fear or anxiety. Sometimes my truth more accurately means my delusion or my lie. Are you making up the truth? This is actually not even possible. If we are saying my truth as a way to avoid or sidestep the actual truth, then we are lying or are in denial. My truth can sometimes be dangerous. The elephant in the room. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot unlearn the many lies that they have been conditioned to believe and seek out the hidden knowledge that they have been conditioned to reject. The law of mentalism, an immutable hermetic principle. The first of the 7 universal laws tells us that the all is mind, the universe is mental, that everything we see and experience in our physical world has its origin in the invisible mental realm. It tells us that there is a single universal consciousness, the universal mind, from which all things manifest. All energy and matter at all levels is created by and is subordinate to the omnipresent universal mind. Your mind is part of the universal mind, the same in kind, with the only difference being one of degree. Your reality is a manifestation of your mind. Is my truth dangerous? Can there be more than one truth, my truth and your truth? If truth is relative, then morality must also be relative. And moral relativity is a dangerous thing. Because if there is no truth and we are just able to make up our own individual truths, then we could justify anything, right or wrong, helpful or hurtful. This is solipsism, the idea that there is no God or universal energy which organizes life. Solipsists see themselves as gods, and from that position decide they can do anything they want and justify it through their twisting of right and wrong. Solipsism is a very dangerous ground for humanity. Have you ever encountered a solipsist in your life? I have, and it created a lot of chaos and hurt. Moral relativism, the destroyer of all freedom. Moral relativism is the ideology/religion that objective morality does not exist inherently to nature, and that right and wrong are subjective constructs which human beings may invent and arbitrate according to time, location, circumstance, or preference. In truth and reality, morality is objective. Rights can never become wrongs, and wrongs can never become rights at any place or time, regardless of how many people believe or wish it to be so. Man's law is moral relativism. Natural law is objective morality. There is a place to exercise judgment. Moral relativism asserts that no universal standard of morality is possible because different people have different beliefs about what is right or wrong. From this inference, relativists appear to further suggest that in matters of morality, anything goes. But this principle of reasoning is problematic because it is essentially incoherent and inconsistent. If truth is simply what is, truth corresponds to reality. Truth guides morality. Truth is not something we choose or make up to suit our needs and preferences. We don't get to decide what is true or false, right or wrong. Truth is not the same as perception, belief, thoughts, hypothesis, theory, desire, worldview, or opinion. Belief is. Human belief is completely irrelevant when it comes to the existence and operation of natural law, just as it is irrelevant in relation to any other laws of nature, such as gravity, inertia, momentum, thermodynamics, or electromagnetism. Similar to such other phenomena of nature, the workings of nature of natural law require no belief in order for them to be discovered and known. Belief is irrelevant. The belief that we are frail biochemical machines controlled by genes is giving way to an understanding that we are powerful creators of our lives and the world in which we live. A quote by Bruce Lipton. Perception is therefore not reality. Clinging to my truth. Are you open to the possibility that your truth is wrong? Truth is out of our control. We don't get to make it up or change it. Truth can be scary or unpleasant, and it can throw our life upside down. Sometimes we cling rigidly to a belief despite the contrary evidence around us. When we cling to a belief or perspective, we are setting ourselves up for eventual pain. One way or another, the world will provide consequences for false beliefs and immoral behaviors. Belief is different than knowledge, which is based on truth. There is only one truth, and that is what is or what has been. However, there are many perspectives, many beliefs, and many stories. Be flexible and seek knowledge so that you can differentiate. Now I'm going to talk about the concept that we have all been programmed. I want you to ask yourself, where have your beliefs come from? Are your thoughts your own? Let's think about this more deeply by looking at how the conscious mind works. The conscious mind is that part of us that is fully alert and aware. The conscious mind is responsive. It is the subjective awareness of sensations, perceptions, memories, feelings, and fantasies. The conscious mind provides capacity of the human for interaction with the environment. It's a place of choice. Consciousness is what we're striving for, full awareness. But the reality is that only part of our awareness is conscious. There is subconscious and unconscious parts of our mind. And that's our personal work to do, is to bring those aspects to the conscious so that we are not as easily controlled or influenced by others, people, or influences. The subconscious mind, mental activities that are just below the threshold of consciousness, we are rarely aware or fully aware of this activity. It affects our feelings and behavior, often without conscious awareness. The subconscious mind is often revealed through dreams, artistic expression, and slips of the tongue. It is accessible with intention and effort. Indoctrination is the process of repeating an idea or belief to someone until they accept it without criticism or question. Repetition strengthens the thoughts held by the subconscious. The subconscious is accessed and programmed by repetition. This often happens without our conscious awareness. So think about the ways that we repeat sentences, phrases, ideas, songs, lyrics, and start to become more conscious of those things. Notice what they're saying to you. Think about a parent with a child, how a parent uses repetition to basically program that child to have certain habits. Brush your teeth after you wake up, brush your teeth before bed, rinse your dish off and put it in the sink, tie your shoes, a million times. We say, we've said it a million times. Well, yeah, that's because we're programming that child's subconscious. Think about the media and all the things that are repeated over and over and over and over. The signs when you walk into stores, right? We start to just accept those things as true unless we're consciously questioning them. So social engineering is the use of propaganda by a government to sway perceptions and attitudes of its citizenry. It also can be used as manipulation to get information. Okay, so it is a conscious process of using the media. For example, the government uses the media to give us information, repeating it over and over and over so that it becomes intrinsic inside, okay, and believed. So we can think of consciousness versus sub and unconsciousness as an iceberg, where the consciousness is that which is above the surface. The unconscious is that which is below. The subconscious is very close to the surface, while the unconscious is very dark and deep. The unconscious, that information stored in our psyche that's well below the tip of the iceberg. Information stored here is inaccessible to the conscious mind, but it still influences our judgments, feelings, and behaviors. Sigmund Freud asserted that the unconscious mind is the primary source of human behavior. Our feelings, motives, and decisions are powerfully influenced by our past experiences, especially trauma-inducing events. And the source of these aspects of ourselves is stored in the unconscious. So take note that trauma creates a separation in our minds. Trauma or pain, severe pain-inducing events, or chronically stressful events that overwhelm our system and are not processed and metabolized right away, often become buried. They become pushed down deep into that unconscious place where we're not aware of how they're influencing us. in our thoughts and our behaviors, in our emotional reactions. People use a range of defense mechanisms to avoid the pain or complications of facing those memories and traumatic experiences relegated to the unconscious. They're very hard to access, but accessible still. So trauma survivors have symptoms, often instead of memories. Trauma-based mind control is a method of manipulating this phenomenon. This information is from an article called From Trauma-Based Mind Control Programming 101 at breakthemkchain.org. Systematic trauma or torture that blocks the victim's capacity for conscious processing. So trauma-based mind control uses such things as pain, sensory deprivation, overstimulation, isolation, oxygen deprivation, cold, heat, spinning, or near-death experiences. It employs suggestion and other behavioral modification principles to alter a person's thoughts, perceptions in the unconscious mind. Trauma-based mind control often causes a splitting or dissociative state in a person that can be exploited to lead a person to act in ways outside their principles, convictions, or volition. Installation of mind control programming relies on the victim's capacity to dissociate, which permits the creation of walled-off parts to hold and hide programming. A statement from Ellen Lachter, PhD, in the relationship between mind control programming and ritual abuse. Mind control programming is installed below the level of consciousness of the mind of the victim. Mind control is total slavery, and the modern-day slave masters treat their victims as a piece of property to be used for their benefit. Mind control programming is widely spread across the world and has infiltrated into the government, military, financial institutions, academia, research, and the entertainment worlds. You can imagine that many of the scenes and incidents we see in the entertainment world and so-called reality TV are actually scripted or caused to happen through programming of those individuals. From what I understand, there's lots of programming in the entertainment worlds because they have great influence on the psyche of the mainstream population. And so on a lesser, more diluted level, the mainstream population experiences a trauma-based mind control. The goal is to control the world's politics, military, economy, and research. And children are so easily programmed, and they're used for sex trafficking, drug trafficking, intelligent and genetic experiments. Truth, repetition was used to brainwash you, so I use repetition to break the spell. Only truth can set you free. Mind Control Lesson 1. Repetition. When you hear a phrase, a statement, a concept over and over again, your subconscious begins to absorb that message. Music and media are the main resource for mind control. The problem is we see them as sources of entertainment versus sources of social programming. The most basic form of mind control is repetition. Think about when you're a kid and you're writing on the chalkboard, I must wash my hands, I must wash my hands. I must follow the rules, I must follow the rules. So as repetition in our lives has bypassed a lot of our conscious mind, we have taken on beliefs and worldviews that are automatic, that really don't originate from our own intention, our own conscious evaluation of what is true or right. So we must become aware of how we have each been programmed through external influences and how this has shaped our perception of ourselves and of what we think is true. Black cats are dangerous, don't you know? My truth. is that black cats are dangerous. I got sick after an encounter with a black cat. The sources I listen to say that black cats bring bad luck, and I trust them. They are telling the truth because I almost died after a black cat crossed my path. I don't feel safe knowing that I could run into another black cat, so no one should have a black cat because they threaten the safety of others. And until all black cats are banned, I'm staying indoors. All black cats should be banned. No one should be allowed to keep them. In fact, they should be killed right after birth. Or we should do this some kind of genetic engineering to prevent black cats from ever being a thing. If anyone is caught hiding out a black cat, they should be jailed or at least separated from the rest of society. They are a danger to society. And when my position is challenged, I dig my heels in the ground and I say, I'm just telling you my truth. Tell me how much sense that makes. Self-growth. Sometimes our stories and those things we call our truth may instead be barriers to our personal growth and moral evolution. They may be guided by emotions such as fear or emotional reasoning. My truth may be the source of a spiritual bypass. We may say it as a defense, a pushback to confrontation, or a way to avoid looking at ourselves, our faults, and our mistakes. My truth may mean that I choose to stay a victim, or that I refuse to self-inquire as to how I'm staying stuck. I might close myself off to new information. Clinging to my truth might lead to me perpetuating a wrong. We may use my truth to manipulate, coerce, or harass other people and violate their natural rights. We all have unique voices that need expression and that have purpose. Sometimes the use of my truth is a beginning stage of asserting our value as humans. When we move from self-defeating thoughts to the recognition of our value, we may need a way to express that and hold a boundary with others. My truth is sometimes the beginning of this journey of self-appreciation and self-defense. Alchemy at its root is transformation of the self. Course correction. Part of growing and becoming fully human is to define and express ourselves while also being open to continued learning. The willingness to course correct when we're wrong is essential to our self-growth. The truth is, or should be, our destination. To truly grow into our personal potential, we need a commitment to the truth, not just the aggrandizement of our smaller personal truths. This above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night, the day, thou canst not then be false to any man. The translation of this is, this above all, to thine own self be honest. And through being honest with yourself, then be honest to all people. A quote from Shakespeare, Act 1, Scene 3 of Hamlet. So we have thinking errors that get in the way of our honesty with ourself. We can also call this cognitive distortion. And I'll list a few here. Emotional reasoning is when we believe the thoughts that come from a strong emotion, whether it be anger or depression. So for example, depression includes negative self-talk by definition, a hopelessness and a helplessness that has thought profiles of this will not get better, I'm not good enough, I mess up. There's almost always some very negative thinking that is irrational, and that's emotional reasoning. All or nothing thinking, absolute black and white categories. Very little is all or nothing or black and white. Overgeneralization, you take something and then you act like it's that way all the time instead of just in a situation. A mental filter, dwelling on the negatives and ignoring the positives, or vice versa. Discounting the positives is emphasizing only the negatives. Jumping to conclusions include mind reading or fortune telling. mind reading, thinking that you can know what someone else is going to say or do, what they're thinking about you. Fortune telling, imagining the future. And if we imagine a bad outcome, then we may not take that chance or take that action because we're already predicting failure. Magnification and minimization. Magnifying is making something very big, much bigger than it actually is. Minimization is dismissing the importance of something, making it small. Labeling is using labels to just categorize a person or their behavior. It's similar to, all or nothing, calling someone lazy, calling someone a conspiracy theorist, right? With all these emotional associations to discount someone, for example. Personalizing or blame. So personalizing is taking too much of the blame on oneself. For example, like in a relationship dynamic, saying it's all my fault, right? When really it's a dance between two. And blaming is making it all the other person's fault and not taking enough personal responsibility. And there are some others over here on this pictograph, like the should stickler. So having very strong, I should do everything right. I should be on time all the time. We can back ourselves into corners of not good enough that can be paralyzing through shoulds. So 5 steps of true initiation. Stop lying to yourself. Go inward and contemplate the origin of your thoughts and feelings, your thoughts and beliefs. Make sure first and foremost that you're being honest and true to yourself. Stop dreaming, which means stop believing the stories that you're telling yourself that may not be true. Stop dreaming about the religion's stories, and the storylines that we're hearing in the media, for example. Face the reality and let go of your illusions about what's happening in the world. See it for what it really is in its stark reality. Learn how to think, learn the trivium, work towards an optimally balanced brain. Live in the present moment, practice mindful presence, be here now, start here, and activate the physical body. Seek optimal health, eat well, exercise, take real world action. Facing ourselves in the mirror can be difficult because often what we see is distortion and negative beliefs about ourselves and shame and disappointment oftentimes. But these are the things that we must look at. Those are the shadows. And it's looking at ourselves and asking ourselves the questions about how did I get here? Am I satisfied with where I'm at? What do I see when I look in the mirror? Are there parts of me that don't feel good about looking at myself? And what are those parts? And then look at them, sit with them, feel those feelings, face all of it. So own your own biases. I need to tell myself that. Because I got sick after encountering a black cat, I am now freaked out when I see a black cat. I have developed fear that it will happen again. I'm therefore very cautious around black cats. And when I see them, I get anxious. So really, I avoid them whenever possible. I realize this may be irrational, but this is my truth. And thus, a superstition or phobia is created. A perceived threat leading to anxiety or fear, combined with repetition and faulty logic or thinking errors, can lead to rigid thoughts and behaviors. These beliefs usually deviate from the actual truth. Examples of biases: masks stop the spread of viruses. Vaccinations are safe. The government tells the truth. Or I'm powerless to do anything to change reality. So where did your automatic thoughts come from? Identify your thoughts and what you claim as your truth. Write down your thoughts, worldviews, beliefs, and biases. What do you believe about yourself? Were these thoughts born of your own conscious choosing? Were they given to you by someone or something else? What was their origin? Ask yourself, do you really know them to be true? If you analyze them critically, are they true? Question. If not, what changes in language might you use to describe those unproven thoughts? I encourage you not to use the language, my truth, if what you're describing isn't actually a truth. Use different language. This is my perception. This is my opinion. This is how things affect me. This is what's happening to me, right? Develop a strategy to pursue more knowledge for your pursuit of truth. Truth is important. It's important to pursue. And are you open to receive new information and change your beliefs? How do we correct our thoughts? Untwist your thinking. These are some tips from cognitive behavioral therapy. First, identify the distortion. Examine the evidence for and against those beliefs. Use the double standard method. Is this statement or belief true for all people at all times? Is it true for me, but not you? Is it okay for me to violate this law, but not you? Or it's okay for you because you wear a suit, but not me? Are you overly self-critical? That's, you could develop self-compassion. Are you overly hostile and critical of others? Develop compassion for others, right? Use the double standard method. The experimental technique, test the validity of the thought. Test it out with an experiment. Thinking in shades of gray. Recognize that not everything is black and white, all or nothing. Evaluate things on a scale of 0 to 100. Some things have gray, not all, but some. The survey method, ask other people for feedback. Run a scenario by someone, tell them your perception, see if they have another way of looking at it. Test it through the formula of natural law and human rights. Does it cause harm? Define your terms. Many words have been altered in our use in mainstream, regular day-to-day language. The media changes words, uses them in ways that they're really not meant to mean. So look at the origins of words and define your terms for clarity, if nothing else. Use the semantic method. Substitute really explosive, emotionally charged language with less loaded language, because charged language creates biases and reactions in the people you're talking to. And therefore, if you want to speak about something from the standpoint of rational truth, we don't need to load that language with a whole bunch of emotional bias. It confuses the messaging. Reattribution. Consider all related factors and solutions. Reattribute. You may say, oh, I got sick because I saw that black cat. Well, I have to ask myself, is that really true? Like, could there be another thing that happened? Maybe I have been stressing myself out and went weeks without sleep and haven't been eating well, so I probably got sick more related to that, not because I saw a black cat, right? Consider all the related factors. Use a cost-benefit analysis. List advantages and disadvantages of thoughts and feelings or a behavior pattern. And beware of how other people are talking to you, and use these same techniques to evaluate the validity of what they are saying. So moving from believing to knowing, use discernment to sort through the many perspectives and stories in order to find the real deal, the bottom line of truth. Persist in seeking truth through studying diversified sources of information. At the heart of the matter are moral principles and moral behaviors. Our stories, or personal truths, are opportunities for individual expression, chances to be authors of our own narrative as we live a life of harmony with natural law. The desire to claim a truth or a story about ourselves may come from that innate and universal drive to be free and not controlled by others, to be seen and heard as individuals, justifiably allowed to act and speak freely, so long as we are not causing harm to others. We can use language and behavior to claim our individual rights to a unique and creative self-expression and to claim responsibility for our life choices. Bottom line is that we need to know ourselves and choose our words wisely and consciously. We are the makers, the creators, and our words are a paintbrush. Our words are our wands. Instead of the path of a solipsist or moral relativist, pretending that we are gods, making up our own rules of the universe, we become a true and magical human being, creating a story of our life within the structure of natural law and truth. We work in harmony with it instead of in opposition. Morals and values are different. This is how I distinguish them. Morals are based on truth and first principles. Truth is what is and is not subjective. Moral principles are true for all people in all situations. Morals are codes to live by. Morals are the foundation we stand on for a peaceful coexistence. Morals guide our behavior and are driven by the law of cause and effect, behavior, and consequence. Values are individual and can vary from person to person. One person may value routine while another may value spontaneity. One person values solitude while another values social company. Values reflect a subjective identification of ourselves. We identify ourselves through our values. Values do not always align with true morality. Sometimes we come into a conflict between a value and a moral truth. For example, we may value family loyalty, but when a family member is acting immorally, the right thing to do is choose right action over family loyalty. What is truth? Again, truth is objective, meaning that it is not based on the perceptions of human beings, which are capable of wavering. Truth is simply that which is. It is that which has occurred in the past and that which is occurring in the present. A quote by John Ruskin: "Without seeking, truth cannot be known at all. It can neither be declared from pulpits, nor set down in articles, nor in any wise prepared and sold in packages ready for use." So what he's saying here is truth doesn't come from authority. It doesn't come from priests or preachers or politicians. It's not set down in articles or constitutions or in any prepared and sold packages that are given to us by the media, by our parents, by our boss. Truth must be ground for every man by itself, out of it such, with such help as he can get indeed, but not without stern labor of his own. So what this is saying, from my understanding, is that we need to do a process of our own and think for ourselves and use discernment techniques in order to find truth, and don't just take someone else's word, but do the work. From René Descartes: "In order to seek truth, it is necessary once in the course of our life to doubt, as far as possible, of all things." So we must be willing to question, to have some cynicism, some healthy doubt, to check it out. As humans, we are in an ongoing pursuit of the truth about life, but we may never truly know the full truth in this 3D form. The pursuit of truth is noble nonetheless, and that's my opinion. Satan says moral relativism keeps me in business. So with thinking of Satanism as a self-serving agenda, as service to one's ego, then to have people who act for moral relativism allows them to benefit, people to benefit from your inconsistency. Okay. If we choose to believe that truth is relative and that it is defined by personal perspective, we perpetuate the doctrine of Satanism, which is service to self and to the ego's desires. So we can justify fulfilling an ego desire by breaking a law, a natural law. Okay, that's Satanism. Many core beliefs we hold onto are false, and sometimes we are not conscious of their origin nor their veracity. We just believe them as if they're facts. These false beliefs were likely unconsciously inserted into our psyches at a young age. When we hold on to them without question, we run the risk of participating in evil and closing our minds to learning the truth of matters. Natural law, the working definition is universal, non-man-made, binding, and immutable conditions that govern the consequences of behavior. Natural law is a body of universal spiritual laws which act as the governing dynamics of consciousness. Choosing right over wrong is living in alignment with natural law. Understanding natural law guides us in knowing our natural rights. And living in harmony with natural law brings freedom to our lives. Natural law is true justice. If we live out of compliance with natural law, if we're working in the negative aspects, then we are creating chaos. So there's no escaping natural law. There is always a consequence to our actions that impacts often ourselves, but others as well, and then ultimately the state of our entire experience as humanity. So natural law is natural justice. Natural law is not a religion, a dogma, an individual perspective, a belief, a worldview, a bias, or a choice. You can't opt out of natural law. Natural law occurs whether you know about it or not, and whether you believe in it or not. It is a law of nature or God's law, equal for all, enduring through time and space without prejudice. And we can't change the past. And what we've done, if you think of it on this line of, we're thinking about time on a linear level, what we're experiencing now in our personal lives and in the whole as a species, right, is the result of the actions that we have taken beforehand. And what we do now is going to create and impact what we experience in the future. So every moment counts. My truth does not justify ever violating the rights of others. Human rights, we cannot give away or take away rights. They are inherent also. Every human has equal, inherently God-given rights. So knowing rights, natural law always holds true regardless of a population's belief systems. This means that it does not matter how many people agree that a wrong can be turned into a right or that a right could be turned into a wrong. Such things can never be done in reality. People can only believe that they can claim such reversals and that this will magically make it so. Unfortunately, most human beings erroneously believe that it is morally possible for them to create and delegate rights which do not exist, or to take away rights which do exist. We cannot delegate our rights, not to our partner, nor to a politician. Understanding rights apophatically from the opposite, from what it's not. We do not have the right to cause harm to another sentient being. So these wrongs are murder, assault, rape, theft, trespass, coercion, or lying. Embodying first principles brings us closer to becoming a balanced human being, which is a vantage point for seeing the truth. This vantage point helps us to see our connectedness and the enduring natural laws that underlie our human existence on Earth. This is a slide by Mark Passio describing mental gender. Mental gender is the state of coexistence between masculine and feminine aspects of the human mind. Our left brain hemisphere largely facilitates the masculine aspect of the mind, or intellect, logic, analytical, or linear thought processes, while the right brain hemisphere largely facilitates the feminine aspect, or intuition, creative, compassionate, and holistic thought processes. Use first principles to seek truth. Through the balance of both masculine and feminine principles, we come closer to knowing the truth. The two pillars being sacred feminine, non-aggression principle, do no harm, do not initiate violence, and the left pillar, the sacred masculine, or the self-defense principle, which means that we have the right to defend ourselves if we are being violated. If someone is trying to murder us, assault us, coerce us to do something, is withholding information and lying to us, if they're stealing from us, if they're attempting to rape us or assault us, steal our property, we have a right to defend ourselves. This is the balance. And our choice of words is important when we're talking about the things that matter to us, when we're communicating with others about our opinions and our choices. So let's be really clear about what we really mean when we choose our words. Our word choice is an important part of being a conscious human being. When we are self-aware, we open a window to see ourselves honestly. Our words can keep us honest or be a tool for manipulation and denial or wrongdoing. Ultimately, even if we think we are fooling someone else, we end up fooling ourselves. We can't fully escape the consequences of wrongdoing. Words matter, as does how we communicate with our words to others. Become ever more precise with your language. Learn the etymology, since so many of the words we speak mean something different at their roots than what we associate with them. Embrace the process of speaking and reflecting on what you say, studying meanings and symbols, hearing feedback, and being open to continual refinement. We are all on this mystical journey of life. Don't let the fear of making mistakes or receiving criticism stop you from opening your mouth. Blaze through the fog of perspective, our thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and history, etc., to seek the truth. Access the process of the trivium to get as close as possible to it through input, processing, and output. Beware of symbols. Symbols enter through our subconscious. Symbols and sigils often are much more than they appear on the surface and resonate and vibrate in our minds in a way we're not always aware of. Use mindful communication. And what's required for this? Honest self-evaluation, self-knowledge, and personal reflection. You need to be able to manage your fears, to notice, breathe, pause, listen, observe, invite, attend, allow, accept, feel, sense, intuit, and think. My truth may easily roll off your tongue, but what do you mean when you say it? It is a trigger phrase that actually creates an air of vagueness and confusion. And since words do matter, choose them wisely. Say what you mean. Own your perceptions. Catch yourself if you're using a thinking error or a cognitive distortion, and make corrections. Each step is an opportunity to create misunderstanding, or the opposite of understanding. Your word choice might not accurately reflect your own understanding. So if you're anxious, you're stressed out and your frontal lobes shut down, then you start to stutter over your words and you pick words that you don't mean, right? So that in that situation, it's telling us we need to learn to regulate our emotions. We need to process triggers and past traumas so that we can be able to have the conversations with a balanced brain, with all our brain parts firing up that need to be, especially the frontal lobes, the neocortex, which is our thinking brain. So we can pause and think and communicate clearly, being aware of our tone, because our tone or context could distract from our message. And your word choice might not be interpreted by your audience as you expect. So often we need to check out that other people are hearing us as we are intending them to. So take responsibility for your language, for your speech, and for the self-regulation of your emotions that make your communication effective. Becoming unified in first principles or moral philosophy, otherwise known as natural law, allows us to respect and appreciate our natural diversity as human beings. This sets the stage for all people to thrive. Awakening. The use of the phrase "my truth" may be a step in a person's awakening to the truth, a step when a person's voice is still tentative and unsure, when they're in a place of believing rather than knowing. It may be easier to claiming truth for oneself, being afraid to impose it on another. People also get confused and think that their perception equals truth, which is not always true. The New Age community frequently discourages judging others' choices. In fact, they really judge you for it and may dismiss a person's immoral behaviors by saying it's his or her own truth, or it's not our place to judge. This mentality permits wrongdoings and passively allows people to stay stuck in falsehoods. The outlook blocks awakening and can also impact the status of all of our freedoms or experience of slavery. Just love everybody. Yes, love everybody. But loving others does not mean accepting, tolerating, or overlooking wrong behaviors. It does not mean don't set boundaries. It doesn't mean don't give feedback or challenge false distortions, cognitive distortions or lack of logic. Love doesn't mean swallowing your own brain and saying or doing nothing. Also, wrongdoings are not the same as annoying habits. Awakening is actually seeing the ways we trick ourselves and each other into falsehood and being complicit with evil. Awakening includes taking right actions. Awakening is seeing that we are all connected, and while we each have a vast array of choices for personal expression, we are connected by the truth and natural law. Natural law, the guide to morality and truth discernment, is the glue that connects us and the avenue for harmony among us. Express yourself and learn. The world needs each of us to express ourselves and to share our knowledge and creative products as well as our perspectives. We each vibrate at a unique frequency. Our true, authentic voices are unique. There is always someone who will resonate with your expression and who needs to hear or experience what you have to offer. Things are not always what they seem. What we think is true may turn out to be false. Have an open mind and be willing to say, see you're wrong, see when you're wrong, be willing to see when you're wrong. In fact, as we proceed, you will likely see how very inverted everything is in our society and how inverted our culture has become. So often we get tricked, and the learning is created by the negative experience rather than the positive one. By the experience of expressing and sharing and living while staying open to the consequences and feedback of other people and the larger universe or field of resulting experiences, we have the opportunity to learn. Please don't waste this precious opportunity. Remain discerning, use your words carefully, distinguish between perception and truth, belief and knowledge. A point I repeat for emphasis. So my truth in summary, go ahead and speak your truth, recognizing that this reflects your perception, experience, and unique creative expression, including beliefs which may not in fact be true. Please own them. Own those statements as your perception or your value or your belief, as opposed to actually knowing that they are the truth. Distinguish between your perception or values and the ultimate truth of what is. Be honest if you don't really know what that is. Be open to learn and consider other points of view. Seek knowledge. Be willing to be wrong. Consider all your thoughts and stands in relationship to natural law and the consideration of all human beings having natural rights. Do you have a stand? Do you take stands on matters of crucial importance? And if not, why not? What blocks you? A right is anything that does not cause harm to another. Wrongdoings are the following: murder, assault, rape, theft, coercion, trespass, or lies. No one has the right to cause harm to another person, even if that is your personal belief. There are inherent and natural consequences when people violate other people's rights or condone doing such. We cannot change that reality. Know the difference between perception and truth. Live your life with vast, creative, and free expression while aligning with natural law. Activate your voice to speak in your own unique style on the issues you are passionate about. Claim your purpose in the world, knowing that your individual voice can be powerful if spoken from a place of harmony with natural law and truth. Distinguish between your perception and the truth. Help awaken the world to the knowledge of right and wrong, to human rights, and to natural law. Be an inspiration to others. And lastly, do those things, but don't violate the rights of others. Don't tread on me. We all have a right to believe what we want so long as we are not violating the rights of others. So if you want to cling to your truth, go ahead. But while you are doing that, do not violate the rights of others. This way, we can have freedom for all, which is the foundation for a truly safe, happy, and healthy society for all. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Again, I'm Leslie Powers. My website is AliveThrive.Life. And my slogan is released from trauma, guided by principles, empowered by freedom. I am available for individual coaching or mentoring. You may reach me through this website if you are interested. Thank you.